So if you go to this slide, $65,000 to $2,000 a month. And if you combine it for one property and you say what it makes over 5 years and the gross income, if you look at that, it's actually around $350,000. But my very first property in West Virginia, I still own it to this day. And it does pretty good. It makes probably around like $50,000 to $60,000 every single year right now. And I bought it 3 or 4 years ago in a city called Oak Hill, West Virginia. And I bought it after my experience with buying real properties in Joshua Tree, California. But back to West Virginia, I bought this home for $235,000. And I was noticing in the rural properties in Joshua Tree, even as like just a nice home, like I didn't do anything extravagant. I didn't have any like infinity pools or like gigantic boulders, but my home in West Virginia, I decided to make it just like that, something similar. And I bought the place with 10% down. So $235,000, got a partner, my brother specifically, and we're like, shoot, let's try this because it works so well in Joshua Tree. And we ended up investing probably around like $25,000 a piece into this rental. And lo and behold, we got our first booking after it was all set up. And we're like, shoot, we just made again around like $8,000 to $10,000 this month. And it just kept on getting better. And eventually it got to the point where it matched Joshua Tree. So on a $235,000 home, we're getting the same income as a home in California that we bought for $350,000. So we found out it works. And I was like, dang, let's kind of play this out and see how it goes. And it didn't take me very long to decide I want to buy my next one because I can kind of project things really well. And I noticed that this house already made around like $36,000 in bookings. That's how much it locked in. So I decided to buy another one before the year ended. So I called up my brother again. We partnered up and we bought the second house. And lo and behold, it did the same exact thing, except we bought it at an even cheaper price, $170,000. And you're probably wondering like, man, is that even possible? $170,000? That's probably like from like 8 years ago. And I just want to remind you, it's from just 2 to 3 years ago, 2022, I believe is when I bought them. So we had that data. And this is like the power of like why action matters so much more versus just accumulating knowledge is like, I had concrete data. I felt sure in my next step. Like if I moved my next foot over, I was not going to fall. And that's probably like the biggest issue a lot of people have when they're starting off in real estate investing. So I decided to buy more. So we bought that house in West Virginia and I did the same exact thing as I did the last time. I bought a home for $170,000. It was a cabin, put $20,000 down using seller financing, raised a bunch of money to actually furnish and renovate the house. And lo and behold, it's again pumping around $65,000 within a year. That's 3 properties. That's pretty concrete data for me that's showing that, hey, if I buy these homes for less than $250,000 to $150,000, technically I've gone lower, there's a good chance I can make these efficient enough to produce $240,000 every single year from just 3 properties. That's pretty dang good. And even after all expenses, you keep around $2,000 to $4,000 per property per month. And the reason why I got into this is honestly because out of necessity, everyone's like, how would you ever even look there? Why don't you just invest in the places you live in, like South Carolina, Colorado, California? And that's because I couldn't. I wasn't great at raising money. I was still a new investor. And although I had been in real estate for about 5 years, I still felt fresh. I didn't feel confident. So this is what I was given, and this is what I work with. The old saying, you have lemons, make lemonade. So why is it so important? Why would you even want to invest in real estate? Why would you want to invest in anything? Well, let me go back to my original story of like how this all began. So in 2017, I graduated from pharmacy school, and I noticed after working really hard as like a clerk, pharmacy intern, technician, extern, eventually, I got tired of all those jobs and I didn't want to climb the corporate ladder anymore. And long story short, it came to the point where I was literally in my car one day, just like scrolling through my phone, looking at my schedules, getting messages from my family saying, hey, are you coming down for the holidays? And I was like, let me check my schedule. And in that October, it was pretty much just, dang, another 20 of 30 days working. So I sent them back the message like, hey, I can't make it. I'm going to work. And that was like kind of like the moment where things start to flip. And I started looking into other avenues to actually make money. So I learned the lesson really fast. Time can equal money if you want it to equal money, but I don't want it to equal money. I want my time to just be time. And I want to enjoy my time. I want to go out with my friends. I want to visit my family. I want to have kids. I want to do other things besides just trade my time for money. It's not a fun thing. And there's a really good book on this if you guys have never read by Dan Martell called Buy Back Your Time. I think it's like a bestseller. So I explored a lot of things. I tried like flipping bikes. I tried trading stocks. I tried exploring cryptocurrencies, which was pretty rough, but not a story for another time. Starting small businesses and side hustles. And what I landed on, what made the most sense was actually real estate. I love real estate because it does what everyone tells you it does. You can rent the home out. You get the tax write-offs, you get appreciation, and you get amortization. Plus, you land with a great story. The stories I told you from earlier are partly why I have those deals, because I can tell people like, hey, it's not just a piece of paper. It's this wood. It's the roof and it provides housing for people, it's a good thing. Versus like you buy a stock, you're like, oh, okay, well I buy the S&P 500, I bought like 20,000 things. I can't tell a story on 20,000 things. Yes, sure, it does well as an investment, but you have no control either. And to me, having that control, especially when you're in a situation where your family's hungry, you don't know if you're able to go and interview for more jobs. It might be the most important thing you have in your life, like your ability to work and change the outcome of things. Because if you gave that up, at the mercy of everyone else. Okay, so what flipped? So money for assets. This is the next important part. So the reason why this is such a game changer is because you learn the importance of value. So whenever you earn money, so you trade your time for money, and this is pretty much the path for most people when they're starting off, unless they're just like super rich and come from an amazing family and they can just hand them money. But then you get to the story of the Buddha and stuff, which is like ends up being unhappy. So you don't want that either. So you'll want to trade money for time usually in the beginning, or you want to build a business somehow that's actually going to make you a ton of money, or you find a really good job that's going to pay you a lot of money. You want to go job hopping. For me, that launch pad was technically pharmacy school, even though it wasn't the greatest launch pad because it took so much in taxes and so much time. If I could go back and tell my younger self that, I would not recommend it to. But that launch pad of high income, whether it's building a business, and right now living in the age of AI and having all these tools known to us, there's pretty much no barrier, no excuse that I can think of like why anyone can't make a lot of money within the next year or two. Just to give you an example, we've been building our business around AI for the past 2 years with real estate, supporting it, and actual human beings. And by doing so, we're basically on track to hopefully, we're aiming for $10 million a year. Don't know if we'll get it, but if we even get half, I'll be pretty happy about that. So it's nothing to boo-hoo about, essentially. So with the age of AI and like internet, there's really no excuse for you to not have a good way to make money. Literally just go on there like, hey, these are my skills. This is who I am. This is how old I am. What is the highest leverage skill I can trade for money? And it'll give you some rough ideas. You might not like them. Take the feedback and rebuild it. So you'll take that money you make, park into these assets that will pay you every single day. And I'm sure you guys already know, but it's kind of nice to get a paycheck. For us, we'll use the example of the homes that I bought earlier. So every $65,000, you get $2,000 back. So my goal for everyone here is to hopefully buy about like 5 rural Airbnbs, to hopefully make around that magical, for some reason, $10,000 per month. My story and timeline. Okay, so I had to tell this story because I just don't know if you guys will believe me or trust me if I don't tell you this. I've been in real estate for about 9 years. I started off when I graduated from pharmacy school because of the pain I told you about of not being able to see my family. And why did I choose this route? Well, it comes from trying so many other different real estate investments and realizing they weren't for me, or they didn't promise the things that people were telling me they promised. So my turnkey rentals, pretty awesome. And it did deliver on its promise eventually, but it took me about 7 years to realize that. And it was too slow for me to really get excited. So I bought my very first 2 long-term rentals at the age of 27, about 2 years after saving, spending my whole 2 years life saving and like working overtime shifts to buy these homes. And I bought as a house hack. So I put 20% down like everyone told me I had to do. Those homes made me about $100 to $300 every single month. So I was like, dang, this works. It's cool. But I just spent like $70,000 and all my money's gone. I don't want to have to work another 2 years and save $70,000. It's a lot of effort. So I was like, well, I don't think I'm going to do that again because I don't want to wait that long. And $100 to $300 is cool, but it's not super cool. So I decided to try and go into flips. I started reading things like Bigger Pockets, and I was like, everyone told me, oh, this is going to be like it's a really good game changer, and it's going to like help increase your active income. And they were right. It increased my active income massively. So I bought 3 rentals for ranging from around $20,000 to $33,000 a piece. And you'll never guess how I found it. I literally just bought one on Zillow, first of all, negotiated down from $70,000. So I bought my first 3, $30,000, $22,000, and another $32,000. Those homes today are valued at around like $180,000. Still not much, but for a starter home, it's pretty dang good. I put in around $30,000 in renovation for each, but I didn't end up flipping them. That's why I said they're worth around $180,000 today. And the reason why I didn't end up flipping them is because I realized if I sold these, I would have no way to get the passive income. It wouldn't really match my dreams unless I just like flipped like 20 more, took all that cash and then parked it into real estate. I was like, oh, flipping is hard. I don't want to do that again. So 3 times was enough for me to realize if I'm going to do all this work, I'm going to keep this freaking house. So instead of selling it, I rented them out, and I followed Brandon Turner's method of BRRRR. Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. This is still one of the greatest strategies out there, honestly, in 2020. And if you want to just go this route and do long-term rentals, I still think it's better than just flipping. And the reason why it's so magical is because if I were to actually sell those homes that I flipped, those long-term rentals, I would have paid a bunch of money in taxes. So why not just go get a loan against a loan against these homes from the bank that I bought for cash, take the money, use the cash flow to actually pay the mortgage, and then have this lump sum of cash I don't have to pay taxes on. And the only difference is I get a little bit of extra money at the end of the day, but I still get all this money I don't have to pay taxes on. So normally the process goes for flippers is build value, create value, sell it, make a bunch of money, pay taxes, no more recurring revenue. For BRRRR investors, it's buy a house, fix it up, get it ready, rent it out, refinance it, get that same chunk of money, but now you got to keep that residual income. And those small things are going to add up. Just like how the gym adds up into a strong body, you want to make sure that you guys are taking the effort and keeping the properties you put all this effort and soul into. So flipping didn't work out for me. And I ran into the same problem I did with my first 2 properties though after doing this, which was, well, I have all this money now. So I solved one problem, which is actually capital, because I was able to take my money back, but my cash flow still sucked. So I was like, well, I fixed the part where I don't need to find as much money. I don't have to learn how to raise as much money, but I now have a new problem where my cash flow is still only $100, $300. What am I going to do about it? And moving to San Diego. In San Diego, I met back up with my other friends who are also real estate investors. And at this time, it was around 2020, 2021. And I was watching all those videos from like YouTube with like Rob Robinson, Tony Robinson, and they were like buying these rentals in Joshua Tree, California, and it did really well. And then all of a sudden, one of my buddies says, Jeff, you want to buy a home with me in Joshua Tree, California, and see how it works? And I was like, I want to, but I just bought this home in San Diego, California. I'm kind of broke. So, okay, we'll partner on this one and then we'll see how it does. And then fast forward, we get to that Joshua Tree story where I was telling you $12,000 per month. And that was a flip for me. Again, like once we had that Joshua Tree property of why this whole thing works, is because it's not just a combination of a rental strategy. It's a combination of buying a home at undervalue, negotiating well, renovating it appropriately, renting out to the right people. So in this case, instead of long-term rentals, I was switching to short-term rentals because instead of renting for around $2,000 to $3,000 per month with no expenses, I'll rent it out for like $8,000 to $12,000 a month with maybe $2,000 a month in expenses. And I'll refinance, get all my money back, and now my wealth building explodes. And that's how you get like these crazy 30% returns. And all I've been talking about this whole time, you guys don't realize, is actually just cash flow, purchase price, and like the typical stuff you do in real estate. We haven't even talked about like the short-term rental tax coupon, what can it do for your finances. We haven't talked about amortization, about like what it means in 30 years. We haven't talked about like the average appreciation in places and migration trends and like all these other things you can do in real estate and how you can make money. Because it's not just an investment, it's also a way for you to build more skills and have a better job and a way to charge better for your time. So that's my story timeline and how I got to rural short-term rentals. Why do I keep on doing? Like there was another like thing that I learned that time that is like so underrated. I talked about house hacking in Spartanburg, South Carolina. There's another sort of house hacking that most people don't ever really consider. I call it a secondary, like a house hacking 2.0 for vacation rentals. It doesn't have to be rural. So if you don't want to do rural investing like I do, but you should even just explore this idea. One of my lenders told me, he's like, Jeff, one of my very first rental properties, I didn't have like the full 20% down. I used a vacation home loan because I wanted to vacation there. But when I didn't use it, I wanted to rent it out. But the terms on those loans are so much better. They're 10% down. And obviously the requirement is you have to live it. You can't just buy this going in there as an investment. That's fraud. Don't do that, guys. Really bad. And that's where I get to the wealth creation loop. So you guys heard me talk about the BRRRR method from Brandon Turner. Well, here's my version of it. And I think it applies to pretty much like a lot of aspects of finance, life, building businesses in general, but it's buy, build, run, recycle, repeat. So buy. So say we're going to translate this into a business because you don't have the money to buy real estate or rural Airbnb at the time. You're going to buy a business and it's an underperforming business. And there's a ton of these like for sale right now. You just have to go and ask people. And the more you put yourself out there and ask for these opportunities, whether it's on social media or in person, the more likely you're going to get them. I mean, the person who doesn't say anything doesn't get fed. If you're not hungry, no one knows. So you'll buy this and then you'll build it up. But you have to understand how to buy it right. For example, we just bought a 10-unit building in San Diego, California, and I didn't have all the money. I just bought like 4 other rentals and plus we're funding like another 6 units also there. So my friend Jay, he was getting swamped with his business and he's like, Jeff, we're letting go of this business, not because we don't like it, not because it's not cash flowing, but because we want to make sure the tip of our spear is sharp, which is Host Buddy. They want to sell that one product so well that it makes them a bunch of money. For me, I wanted these deals because I knew they already cash flowed. So I was like, Jay, I would love to buy this from you. Would you like to sell or finance it? Like we can make a contract where it says we'll buy for like $40,000. If these criteria are met, we will pay you this amount of money. But until we get the lease approved from the landlord, we hit these milestones, we make sure that it's actually cash flowing like you said it cash flows, I won't pay you the rest of the amount yet. So it was essentially zero down. Once the landlord approved the contracts, now it turns into like we pay our first $10,000. But in the meantime, we've also gathered more money for our rentals, more money for our business. more money from the actual rentals he was just letting us rent. And we're going to use that to pay the $10,000. And there's tons of these out there. Even if you just go to Zillow right now, put in the filter seller finance, you'll find all these homes all over America that where landlords are willing to do this. You just have to get on the phone and ask and talk. Like, being shy doesn't help you. And that's not a bad thing to say, but that can't be the rest of your life. You're going to build. You're going to say you're buying a rural Airbnb, you're going to build that place up. You're going to design it well. You're going to put in the right amenities. You're going to market it well. And then instead of getting the average of what like Rabu.com says, you're going to pump your $28,000 expected revenue to $70,000. It's almost a 3x. So a really good return. So by building that, now it becomes more valuable. Just to give you an example, one of my friends in West Virginia actually bought this home in Hico for around $235,000. And 3 years later, he actually sold it for, I think, like $400,000, $405,000. And it's just a single family home. I don't know how he sold it. I never asked him about that, but I don't know how he even got appraised for that much. Maybe the guy bought it cash, but it works. People want this cash flow. And in general, if people are spending $400,000 on a home, they would be stoked to pull in $70,000 worth of income. But for me, it's not, because I know better. And I'm telling you, I buy box, right? I told you what to do. Then you're going to run it. Just keep on running it, managing it, build out systems. So have the right automations, get a hospitable platform to actually connect things like VRBO, Airbnb, Booking.com. And that way you don't get double bookings. Have a Schlage on code so people can get into your house automatically without you actually have to physically unlock it. Put a camera up. Get dynamic pricing so you don't have to decide on pricing. And when you combine a lot of these things and all the other tools that are out there, again, this is not like secret data, I'm telling you. It's you just have to look for it. You have a property that's really easy to manage, and it only takes about 3 hours every single week to manage these properties. And if you're just like, nah, screw you, Jeff, I want something easier, you can hire a property manager. We manage for people who've worked within our community. So that's not even an issue. There's so many people who would love to co-host your cash flowing $70,000 property for you. I mean, they get 20% of the income. It's pretty good. And you still get a good amount of money also. You're going to recycle that money. So back to refinancing. So don't park your money in things too long. You want to do return on equity studies. Cool. So return on investment, we took like it's more like a forward look. So you do that when you're not sure what to invest in, like, or what to target. But return on equity, you already have data. You have backwards data. It says you have this much equity in a house and it makes this much per year. So you take that number. So say you have like a home that makes $70,000 a year, but now your property has grown to $500,000 and it's been 10 years and you have like maybe $400,000 worth of equity. It's the net income, the cash flow essentially makes. So maybe you keep like $30,000 from that, divide by $400,000. That's around like a 9% return on equity. It's not horrendous, but usually because of what I told you earlier regarding the numbers of like 30% returns, most times it's smart to do like a second loan, a HELOC, a cash out refinance on these secondary properties, find a lender who will do it and reinvest into a deal just like this all over again. And that's how you recycle this money. That's how you build a plan that helps you retire, not in like 30 years, not in 20 years, not in 10 years, but in 2 to 5 years if you really wanted. If you have a lot of capital sitting on the side, honestly, there's really not much stopping you from just buying 5 of these homes cash and making $10,000 per month. It just works. And if you want to diversify, you're like, it's too risky if you have all my eggs in one basket. Do it how I do it. Buy it in different markets like Gainesville, Florida, Kentucky, South Carolina, North Carolina, West Virginia, San Diego. And that's diversification enough. If you need more, maybe we need to have a talk on risk. But I don't think we have time for that today. So we're not going to be talking about that. Repeat the process till you get the results you want. So decision, system, and repetition. This is like pretty important for people who are going to business for the first time. Me as a W-2 worker going to rural Airbnbs or things like this or business building, I didn't really quite understand. I just thought it was like what someone else told me. Like just do what someone else tells you and it's fine. But honestly, this framework works for pretty much everything. So now I'm going to shift and I hope this doesn't make it too confusing. But if you're building a business, you have a return on investment number 2, but it's something different. It's called lifetime value divided by cost to acquire. And that's a new metric you're looking at. If you're doing stocks, you can look like at dividends or something like that. So like, hey, I get 3% dividends. Not super exciting, but you get usually pretty good returns from index funds, usually 8 to 9%. So pretty happy with that. If you're too tired to work, obviously, or you don't have any more valuable skills, it's a pretty good place to park your money. But for business, so we have that lifetime value. Every time you are looking for a customer at your rural Airbnb, you want to collect their emails. And this is how you build a direct booking website. So you use a free app called I forgot what it's called, Happy Guest, I think is what it's called. We just started working them. I'm not endorsing them at all. I'm experimenting. I always experiment. We collect emails. So this one person stayed there and they really like your house, your product. And they're frequent visitors of New River Gorge National Park, Spartanburg, South Carolina, Gainesville, Florida. Their son goes there. They're going to come there for 4 years. Their value of what that is not just the one booking. It's the repeated booking. So if you can figure out what someone's like lifetime value is for when they book a house, and you can remarket to them like, hey, stay here, stay here. We have tons of these types of guests. So say one guest brings you, I don't know, $20,000 in lifetime value because their son's going to go to school there for 4 years, and every year they're going to spend $10,000 in housing at your place. You're going to take that number of $20,000 divided by their cost to actually advertise them. And in this case, it's almost none really, because you got their email for free. You can use AI to automate the rest. So that's like how you create value, how you create an infinite return, like when you make money out of nothing. And the effort is getting much, much easier now with like AI, social media, because it's essentially free. Back in the days, people used to charge you for ad space, for newspaper space. Now you can literally go on Instagram, put your building on there and be like, hey guys, look, cool. Or say you want to hire an influencer, be like $300. Hey guys, look cool, go pick my house. And what's even wild is that Airbnb and all these other booking platforms will take like 15% of your rental income. You can count the cost of hiring the influencer as what you would have paid Airbnb to market the house for you, if you want to think of it that way. So decision, when you have the information to make good decisions, you decide that, hey, this isn't going to cost me much. The risk is so low. You can move forward with confidence. This is everything eventually, because you want to buy back your time. The systems let you buy back your time, live your life, go on the trips, scale if you want to, work more, work less. It's the factor that gives you control in your life. So if you don't have a system, you're still working a job. So my goal is to help you get to a system that you can follow, that you can leverage your skills and your knowledge easily from. Repetition. If you suck, do it again. This is one of the most forgiving things that I learned when I was little. I worked at a pharmacy and I didn't know anything about it. And the very first time I sold metformin, which is just like this regular diabetic drug, to someone, I was scared. When I was a pharmacist and I verified my very first medication for metformin, I was scared. By the 10,000th time, it felt like child's play. Literally taking care of someone's life, handing a medicine that they're going to take and put in their body, it could change their chemistry, scared me until it didn't. And that's thanks to repetition. Why rural Airbnbs? I don't think there's anything better personally for me. I understand for some people why they wouldn't want to do it, because the barrier to learn a lot of these skills is quite scary. And there's a lot of things to balance. This took me 9 years to kind of build the confidence to be able to even just speak about it confidently. But I've looked at multifamily. I've talked to some of the most established people I trust in the space of multifamily. My uncle, he's a commercial real estate broker. I've talked to long-term rental owners who want to convert their places. I've talked to regular Airbnb owners who want to sell their place and go rural. I've talked to ADU builders who say, I wouldn't do it again. I'd go just build rural. They see the bookings, they get their first home, and then they realize, hey, I didn't have to spend $200,000 to get a home that actually cash flows $2,000 per month. The experience overall, you get to travel there, you get a vacation home. A great story. There's a change in life. Like sometimes the monotony, the boringness of the same thing over and over will push you to try something new. And I think that's magical. Higher cash flow. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna add too much on that. Like I made my point on that. If you guys want to do see my case studies on that though, please follow me on Instagram. I love sharing the case studies. They're probably one of my favorites, and especially my students and my clients. And when they see their first home, like, Jeff, I just want to buy another one. And my students are still able to scale, and they're still looking every day for these types of deals. In fact, if you find one and I really like it, please sell it to me. We can strike something up. It takes a little bit of weight off me to actually find a good home. And there's all these homes all over America. You don't have to wait for someone else. You can just go on Zillow, Redfin, and you might just find the home of your dreams. Because I do that every day. That's how I started off, and that's what I figured out. But it's about making the next jump, the next leap. And analysis paralysis will stop you from ever growing. And what I like to tell people is hey, you're either bound to make this mistake when you're 40, when you're 50, when you're 60, or your 40, 50, 60-year-old self is going to thank you for making those steps, for taking a step forward, for realizing it's just fear, false evidence appearing real. And action is what moves it forward. And if you're ever stuck, change your state. I'm a big Tony Robbins fan, just about energy in general. If you see me right now and you start to hear me speak like this, you can tell that you're getting tired. But if I change my voice and I'm like this, now I feel better. Now I'm courageous. So literally just a shift in your physiology moving can change the trajectory of your life. All this thoughts and doubts and stuff, it is important because that shows you what you really care about. But every time you feel resistance, that's honestly the biggest sign to me that this is something that needs to happen. It's causing friction. And 10 years down the line, waiting on this is not going to make it better. That's always been the case for me. Yeah, I have a free course. I have free tools on how to analyze deals. And also, if you have an Airbnb already, I have a thing where you copy and paste your listing and it will optimize your photos for you. Photography is the number one investment you can make straight up. I hope this was helpful. Feel free to connect me. Feel free to talk to me and say, hi, thanks so much.